Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my budget Bermuda Triangle deck profile for standard format. I wanted to do this version of the Bermuda Triangle deck profile just for everyone who wants to build the Bermuda deck from the newest pack, Primary Melody, but just doesn't really want to invest as much money for some of the more expensive cards, obviously not using any of the SPs in the pack, but also excluding the idle rares, so the grade 4s, and some of the more expensive grade 3s, sticking to the ones that are more budget friendly for the melody effects for the deck. So I just decided that this would be the best version. We're using as many of the melody units that are in the single digit prices, as well as some of the other cards in the set that aren't too expensive. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the grade 3s, I decided to stick with 3 of the colorful Pastorale Rena. On a Vanguard or Rearguard effect, when an attack hits a Vanguard, if your hand has 4 or less cards, draw a card. This is shared by all of your units with Melody. So the units with Melody are all of the grade 3s, so I wanted to make sure that all the grade 3s that we do run in the deck at least have Melody to keep that consistency with the deck. So just having the draw power with this card definitely does help for a free cost and being able to share it with Melody. And then also having a Counterblast 3 and return 3 cards with Melody from your drop zone to your hand. So late game, Rena definitely does come in handy for her effect, just being able to recycle and then also reuse cards with Force as well in your hand. And I also run 3 colorful Pastorale Fina. I was going to say Rena, but I actually think Rena is another Bermuda Triangle card. But with this one, Vanguard or Rearguard effect, continuous melody. This unit gets intercept and auto. When it intercepts, this unit gets plus 10,000 until the end of that battle. This is shared by all your units with melody. So having Fina able to give your grade 3s the melody intercept effect definitely does help for the high number that we can run as well in the deck. If you wanted to bump up these numbers to 4, I would definitely start with Fina first, just for the fact that she'll give grade 3s the intercept, so if they're on the field on your rear guard. And she also has a Vanguard only Soul Blast 2, and for this turn's battle, when this unit attack hits, effects activate even if the attack did not hit. A very interesting take on some of your cards that when the attack hits for an easy Soul Blast, so with Fina, being able to put cards into the drop zone for your Rena as well definitely does help for that recycle power, since you want to have Soul Blast cards to put grade 3s obviously in the drop zone whenever they're in the soul, or just being intercepted onto the field as well. And then lastly, I also run 2 colorful Pastorale Cannon. From Vanguard or Rear Melody effect, when placed, you may Soul Charge 1. This is shared by all your units with Melody, and a Vanguard effect of Soul Blast 3 until the end of this turn. When your opponent would call Guardians from his or her hand, he or she must call 2 or more at the same time. So another Soul Blast guard restriction card definitely does help when you're going up against perfect guards. I decided only to run 2 of this one. It's not as much of a setup card like Fina is, or a recycle card like Rena. But if you wanted to up these numbers, I'll show what grade 2s and 1s to take out to increase the number of grade 3s. You don't want to really go up too high, but if you do want to run at least maybe 9 or 10, there are some numbers you can take out to keep that consistency going with the deck. And that is it for the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s, I run 4 Choco Love Heart Lissolette. Now obviously you don't have to run the signed version of the deck. This card's much more budget, just having the common versions or even just the foil ones. From your hand, it can be called as a grade 1, and from Vanguard or Rear, when placed, you look at the top card of your deck and call it to rear, or put it into your soul. This ability may only be used by a card with the same name once a turn. I still like to run 4 of it for that easy grade 1 option to early call for a 10k power unit on rear guard, but also just being able to set up with that draw power definitely does come in handy each turn for you, for the fact that you can grab cards that you definitely do need in your hand to use resource-wise with some of the other cards in the deck. And I also run 4 Greenness Energy Salia. With this one on rearguard, when it attacks and is not boosted, you counterblast 1, and until the end of that battle, increase or decrease this unit's power to match one of your Vanguard's power, to match the power at that time. So just having this card, if you don't have the boost to go for, just as an optional unit to match up with some of your opponent's units, especially if you give the power to your Vanguard, then having this unit be able to share in that power definitely does come in handy for if your Vanguard attack needed to hit, and then you have this option for this card to also hit as well. For that power, you don't have to really worry about what trigger units you want to, split the power with. And also being a counterblast, there's not too much unless you go for the Rena benefit for the counterblasts that you use for the deck otherwise. And then for the other grade 2, I have this card at 3, was considering bumping it up to 4, but only 3 blue silver Diva Brum at the moment. During your opponent's turn, it gets plus 5,000 power on rear, and on rear guard, when it hits a Vanguard, you counterblast 1 and draw a card. So it has draw power on rear, early game especially. It's a definite powerhouse. If I were to change any of the numbers, I would probably drop Salia down to 3 for this card. I would also, potential-wise, for one of the grade 2, if you wanted to bump up any of your numbers, like if you wanted to run a 3rd cannon in the deck, I would drop Salia down to 2 as well, and then put the Brom to 4, running a total of 10 grade 3s in the deck, but having a 9-count grade 3 in the deck, when 10 grade 2s for those numbers. And that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. I run 4 of the Favored Child Idol Eno. On Vanguard or rear, during the battle, it attacked a Vanguard. This unit gets plus 2,000. So just on Vanguard or rear, it hits the plus 10k power. So if you go up against some of your opponent's units, especially when you go up against the Excel decks, if they go first and they have a 9k grade 1 as the ride target, just having this not needing a boost definitely does come in handy, since it puts it at a 10k power for attacking the Vanguard. And on rear guard, when your Vanguard's attack hits a Vanguard, you may return this unit to your hand. So being able to return a 10k shield to your hand definitely does come in handy. So it's a definite 4 of for the good ride target, easy power when it attacks, and then just that bounce power from rear when your Vanguard attack hits. Just always remember, you kind of want to boost with this card. Otherwise, you don't want to miss out on any potential boosts by having to return this card when your Vanguard attack does hit. And I also run 4 Lovable Spontaneity Vol. With this one, when placed, if you called another rear guard during this turn, this unit gets plus 2,000 power until end of turn. And during the battle, it boosts. If you have 5 rear guards, this unit gets plus 5,000. So you have that potential plus 5 power, when usually with a 4 stack, you just have those rear guards to set up for power. So you don't really have any other units to call out otherwise and hit the 5 rear guard number. But also, if you have another rear guard, that plus 2 power, being able to hit 15k makes this card for a good boost, especially if you end up boosting some of your other grade 1s as well. And if you have Eno in the front row, being able to bounce it takes away from one of the cards your opponent may want to attack into with their Vanguard next turn also. And I also run 4 Officious Luscious Thoria. With this one, when the attack it boosted hits a Vanguard, you retire this unit, look at the top card of your deck, put it on the top or bottom of your deck, and then draw a card. So you can grab perfect guards with this card. You can also sift through your deck if you're still needing a grade 3 unit. All it has to do is boost, hits the Vanguard. So even early game, it definitely does come in handy. And the cost is only retiring this unit. So you're not really plussing with this card, but you're also just benefiting more for the fact that you could grab a card you need from the deck as well. And then lastly, for the grade 1s, I run 2 Rainy Tier Steza. From the rear, at the end of the battle, that boosted Vanguard, retire this unit, draw a card, and then counterblast 1, put a grade 3 card from your drop zone in the bottom of your deck, and draw 1 card. So usually, if you don't want to invest in Rena too much, just having Steza recycle the card for a draw 1 also does come in handy. I only have 2 of this card, though, for the fact that I do want to benefit for the grade 3 recycle, but it doesn't always come in handy as much as some of the other cards that we run investment-wise, especially. So I just decided to run it at 2 in the deck. If I were to take out another number, I already suggested that you would at most go up to 10 for your grade 3s, maybe putting in a 4th Fina, and then the 3rd option for Cannon for a total of 10 grade 3s. Reducing the grade 2 number, like I said, to 10, I would take out the 1 Salia, and then for the grade 1s, I would take out 1 of the Thorias or 1 of the Vols for your grade 1 options, putting them to 13. I didn't really want to take away from the Stezas we already have in the deck or the numbers of Enos, just because I would find them to be the most consistent grade 1s at the numbers they're at. And then for the grade zeros, your starter, whatever Bermuda Triangle standard starter you want to be, they all have the same effect of when rode upon, draw a card. And then for the triggers, I decided just to stick with the standard 8 critical, so 4 Persh and 4 Rena for the criticals, so 8 crits total. And then for the draw trigger, if you have the draw trigger perfect guards, you can run those. If not, you can run the generic grade draw trigger and take out for the grade 1 perfect guard. Probably would suggest Vol of all of them, since you just have consistent draws with Thoria. So this would be the potential one to take out for the grade 1 perfect guard if you were going to run the generic draw trigger. And lastly, just the 4 heal trigger, 4 standard as well, Elena, to end off the deck profile. So yeah, that is it for the deck profile. I know Bermuda Triangle and budget don't always come to mind, but I hope you all enjoyed the deck profile, and definitely do give it a shot if you're looking for a more budget-friendly Bermuda Triangle deck. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.